Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good afternoon to everyone who's joined us today, and I believe the others will just trickle in as we go forward. My name is Sabika Shaban from the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University. We are nearing the end of our journey, exploring opportunities and ways to enhance our success in whichever routes we take after graduation, specifically with this series focusing on the PhD and career pathways. We're extremely grateful for the opportunity to host a Qatar Career Development Center, or QCDC, for this and the previous workshop. Today is the fourth workshop of the series, focusing on employability skills. This topic is more critical now than ever before, and I don't need to cite all the staggering statistics regarding the job market today to highlight how important it is that we stock our employability toolkit in the most effective and practical manner. As always, just a few housekeeping rules. You have all been muted on entry. Please do ensure your mics remain muted throughout the course of the workshop until it's time for Q&A. The workshop will last for about 2 hours, comprising a session in the first half and an excellent panel in the second half, which our QCDC facilitators will introduce. These are the people in the field who can tell you exactly how it is. You may ask your questions in the chat throughout the course of the workshop. Where relevant, they will be addressed right away. Others will be kept to the end, if applicable. Just also to seek your assistance and your support, we'll be sharing a survey link at the end of the workshop. If you could please fill it out at the end of the session. And last but not least, the webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all those who have registered, along with a copy of the slides. Now, because we're reintroducing our guests, I'll keep the introductions short as there's a lot to cover this afternoon. Mrs. Efrazini Dimitrios Parampoda holds the position of Senior Officer Career Programs and Services at QCDC in Qatar Foundation, with an incredible list of certifications and experiences. Her work focuses in developing impactful projects, producing literature based on research, and fostering strategic partnerships locally and abroad that enrich and support career planning practices and influence policymaking in the state of Qatar. Paige McDonough is a Career Development Officer at QCDC. She's worked with hundreds of students to clarify and pursue their goals through their career goals through one-on-one career counseling sessions, workshops, and other career development programs. In addition, she's worked extensively with employers to stay abreast of industry requirements through various programs and organizations. So we welcome you both again, and our sincerest appreciation for your generosity in sharing your experiences and expertise in these workshops. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sabika. It is a pleasure to come back to the College of Islamic Studies and also to see all the students joining us today. So we're looking forward to discuss further with all of you important aspects of employability skills. I know Paige is supposed to start the presentation. I think she's encountering some technical issues. So I will
just checking, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I see that my video looks frozen. I can see you all, and as long as you can hear me, I suppose that's the important part. So I will go ahead and begin, and let's hope the technology catches up eventually. So thank you very much, Sabika, for the warm welcome and for hosting us again today. And thank you to the participants for joining us. As Sabika mentioned, we have a fantastic session for you today, not only discussing employability skills, but also having a panel at the end of today where you will hear from professionals firsthand on their perspectives of the importance of these employability skills. So I've got the outline in front of you there. As I've mentioned, part one today will be covering employability skills. We will define those skills, discuss the importance of them, how to develop the skills, the articulation of them, the transferability to the professional world, and how to maintain and enhance those skills. Part two will be the perspectives of employers on those desired skills. Sorry, technical issues there. And if you can see, I've got the list of the panelists there. We've got a fantastic list of professionals. As we mentioned, we've got Dr. Buthaina, who is a Qatari leading business lady. We've got Mr. Amar Banesa and Ms. Tanya Abbott, who come from different backgrounds and perspectives. So we've got an exciting program for you today. So to start off, I would like to hear a little bit about what your backgrounds are, what you're studying. I've got a QR code here. If you have your mobile phone handy, if you're logging in from your laptop, simply open up your camera, hover it over the QR code, and it will bring you to the question asking you, what college are you in? If you are on your phone, then a link will be sent through in the chat function. If you would take a minute or so to answer the poll based on what college you are currently in. So I'll give everyone a minute to do that. Seeing some votes come in. So far, an even split between Islamic studies and humanities and social sciences, science and engineering, public policy. Okay, a good mixture of different backgrounds. And thank you for sharing that. The great thing about today's presentation is it is applicable to everyone, no matter what you are studying, no matter what your career future path might be, and no matter where you are in your educational pathway. So today's workshop is going to be relevant to everyone. So as Sabika mentioned in her intro, we all know that the job market is continually changing and evolving. Even before the pandemic, we were seeing great and rapid changes in the labor market due to emerging technologies such as AR and VR, increased globalization, as well as automation. So we were already seeing great changes in the labor market. Now we are seeing more acute changes as a result of the pandemic. So with this continually changing job market, with the knowledge and understanding that it is increasingly competitive now for job seekers, the question we are getting asked more and more often is, how do I stand out? How do I demonstrate to an employer that I am the best candidate? And the answer to that question is to demonstrate and focus on your employability skills. So the question,
Paige, if it's okay to pause you here because we lost the presentation.
Okay. What I might do is just try to reshare for a second. I'm just trying to get it sorted out on my end. Bear with me.
If needed, Paige, I can also share it from my end, if that's helpful, and if things are not, if they're not cooperative at your end.
If you wouldn't mind, it looks like my my computer is being a bit funny. So if you wouldn't mind being able to share it, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Okay, does this look fine?
For some reason, I can't see it on my screen, so I will just I'll just go with it.
Sabika, just close the presenter's view.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, it's perfect now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So I can't see on my screen, so I'll just tell you when to switch to the next slide, if that's all right.
Perfectly.
So I believe now that we are on what do you think employability skills are, if you could go to that slide. So as I mentioned, the answer to focus on is what are employability skills, or is to focus on employability skills. So I want to talk a little bit about what those employability skills are. So utilizing the chat function, if you could just type in your own definition, what you think employability skills are. So give everyone a minute or so, type into the chat box, and let us know what you think employability skills are. And because I can't see the chat box, if there are any notes coming through, if Sini or Sabika would be kind enough to read some of the chats.
Sure. We already have some really good answers. Ability to network, communicate, skills that are beneficial to help us perform certain job responsibilities, resume and CV making skills, writing emails professionally to employers, interview preparations, value adding skills or abilities, dependability, reliability, efficiency, communication skills. These are all excellent examples.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you all have a really good perspective and a good idea of what employability skills are, which is a wonderful, wonderful start. So as you've identified, what they are is a combination of soft skills, which soft skills are non-technical skills. So for example, a technical skill would be engineering knowledge or something to that effect. So soft skills are those traits, those attributes, those things that you've mentioned that maybe aren't tangible, for example. And what these are, they influence how well you work and how well you interact with others. So this is what employability skills are in a nutshell. Now, throughout this presentation, I will be utilizing the term employability skills interchangeably with soft skills. So in case you're wondering where that came from, I'm utilizing the terms similarly. So on the next section, it should see a list of the World Economic Forum's top 10 soft skills. So on that list are critical thinking, persuasion, negotiation, leadership. You can read through them. And then there's some attributes at the bottom, things like being flexible, having great attention to detail, being resilient, being adaptable. As you can imagine, these traits and attributes are important not only in a pandemic world, but even before the pandemic world, they were very, very important. And as Sabika said at the intro, especially now even, we're looking to see, our employers are looking to see people who are adaptable, such as this session, learning how to deal when technology doesn't work properly, and be resilient through these experiences. So obviously this list here is not comprehensive. You've already mentioned a few in the chat, but take another minute or so, type out what are some of the additional employability skills that are not listed here.
We're waiting to receive some more. Teamwork, emotional intelligence, yes. Patience.
Right. Exactly. And as you've identified, all of these traits and skills, and there is a extremely long list of them, all of these are very important when it comes to being employable. And I'll talk about the importance of these skills coming forward. So if we could move to the next slide, the identification of employability skills. So now that we have clarified what exactly employability skills are, it's important to start to learn how to identify our own skills. This can be challenging for many people, as sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what we are good at because it comes so naturally to us. There's a couple of different approaches that you can take to start to identify your skills. One, I always recommend ask your family or friends, what do they see that you're particularly skilled at? Sometimes someone from the outside looking at you might say, wow, you really organized this event very well, or you really handled that uncomfortable situation well. They can help you articulate those and identify them. But we can't rely always on friends and family. So it's important to start to build in a reflection element for yourself, to really start to think about what have you done well? Where are you demonstrating these skills? What are these skills that you are demonstrating? And then to reflect on other experiences and to notice patterns. So if you go to the next slide. So in this table that I have here, this is a practical application to demonstrate and how to identify your skills. So I'll go through every section with you. I would encourage you to take a quick snapshot of it and to utilize this at your own free time. On the left-hand column, you see I've got category, and I have academic, professional, extracurricular, and other. Other being maybe your personal life. So the point of this is to realize that your skills can be demonstrated in all aspects of your life, not just from one, and to start to challenge you to think about where are you demonstrating skills. The next column is an experience where you performed well. So I want you to start to reflect on an experience that you feel particularly proud about in each of these areas. Maybe it was something new you'd never done before. Maybe it was something that was risky and you did it really well. Maybe it was a solution to a problem that hadn't been resolved yet. So really start to reflect on and identify a couple of experiences where you feel you performed well. Now, for the sake of this session, I have kept the dot points there very short and concise, but what I would encourage you to do is to write out more of a narration as to what it was about this experience that you feel you did really well at. By writing out a little bit more about what was involved, it's easier to see the various skills that you utilize. So you can see some examples I have. Maybe you're very proud about your thesis, or maybe you conducted and presented research as part of an internship, or perhaps even you did volunteer work with the Red Crescent. And in the other section, again, it doesn't have to be a big example. I've got something very simple, which might sound very superficial and fluff, but it's very important to think about, again, where else are you demonstrating and developing the skills? So the example I have is perhaps you planned and organized an amazing birthday party for a family member. If you think about all the elements that were involved with that, maybe it was coordinating a lot of people and communicating with not only family members, but a restaurant or whoever. So it involves a lot of things. Then on the next column, I've got skills you demonstrated. So again, reflecting on what you wrote out in your experiences where you felt you performed well. Start to go through and pick those through. What skills did you utilize to perform that task really well? So what I have in this column is, again, very short and brief, just for the sake of space in this presentation. And the anticipation would be that you would have multiple skills identified there. So if you think about, for example, your thesis, if you're writing your thesis, you would have written out a lot about what you did to research it, how you synthesized the information, how you organized it, how you thought critically about the material and put it together, and how you applied it. So there's a lot of components to that. I've written out a couple of skills that you could perhaps extract from these as an example. So you see writing, analyzing, critical thinking, and so forth. Sabika, if you could click the next one, you should see red circles highlighting similarities. So once you have reflected on these experiences, you can then start to see patterns. So you might see that you are highly skilled at analyzing and you've utilized that skill in multiple places, or coordinating. This provides you with a good idea of you've got this strong ability in these skills. Now, in addition to this, you can also complement this activity with a SWOT analysis. So SWOT is S-W-O-T. You may or may not have heard of that. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So in utilizing this table, you're identifying your strengths. You might also be able to identify your weaknesses and therefore opportunities to develop. So if you, on your own time, simply just Google SWOT analysis, S-W-O-T, you'll find information online, but it can complement this so you know areas to develop. So we can move to the next slide now. So we've now discussed how to identify your employability skills. Let's discuss the importance of those skills. So why are they important? Who says they're important? And who are they important to? So Sabika, if you click, you should see individual, and then you can click and see the list underneath there. So employability skills are important for yourself as an individual for many reasons. One, they make you more competitive when you are job seeking, in that they help develop a stronger application for yourself, and they will help you perform better in an interview. They also provide better opportunities for career progression. And I want to give you a few statistics around that. So according to Forbes, 75% of recruiting professionals have actually cut an interview short because the employee didn't have the necessary soft skills. So that's a large amount. 75% have actually cut an interview short because they didn't see the demonstration of soft skills. And on the same hand, the same research, 94% of recruiting professionals feel that an employee with stronger soft skills has a better chance of being promoted. So obviously, these enhanced employability skills, these enhanced soft skills are going to be highly important for your career progression and success in a career. Also, naturally, they would increase your work-life satisfaction and self-efficacy. In addition to the individual, employers highly value soft skills, particularly now, post-pandemic, when we are really challenging our preconceived ideas of how the world of work should look like and should work. We're changing rapidly. Things are very different. So employers are looking for employees with soft skills because it helps them increase their productivity, their efficiency, and their collaboration. It also contributes to a positive work culture and increased retention rates. I want to read you a few statistics as well about this. There was a study done by the University of Michigan that showed investment in soft skills training returned 256 return on their investment, and it boosted retention rates by 12%. There was another study by Hay Group that showed it can boost productivity by 30%. And we all know that employers focus on the bottom line, whether they're an NGO, whether they're a public or private entity. Employers want to be more productive, be more efficient, and cut costs. And so this reduced cost, you might wonder, how can enhanced soft skills actually reduce an employer's costs? And there was a really interesting article I read, written by Deborah Hamilton, who's a communication expert, who said that miscommunications cost employers an average of $420,000 US a year. That's a significant amount of money. And if you think about how those miscommunications occur and how they can increase the length of time to get something done, it's understandable to see that enhanced communication, enhanced teamwork, enhanced soft skills as a whole can lead to reduced cost for the employer. So Sabika, if you'd like to go to the next slide. So this slide again is so you don't have to hear straight from me, but also some additional sites that are talking about the importance of soft skills. So you can see LinkedIn's 2020 Grads Guide to Getting Hired identified the most in-demand skills across all industries to be soft skills. So as I said at the beginning, doesn't matter what your background is, what you are studying, soft skills are sought after by all industries. You can see Deloitte forecasts that it will be the most prominent feature in all jobs by 2030. And the World Economic Forum back in 2018 showed that soft skills would increase in value. And we've seen studies and reports that have showed this is even more so, even exponentially important now post-pandemic. So there's a lot of sites and a lot of sources out there that continue to highlight this importance of soft skills. So Sabika, if you will go to the next slide, please. So again, I've got a QR code, or we can put the link in the chat. What I would like to know is, what are you currently doing to develop your employability skills? So I'll take a moment, let you pull up this poll and select the options that apply to you. And you can select more than one. So I see a few votes coming in. We've got mentoring, volunteering, a couple joining or maintaining a professional membership to a club. Sabika, if you could move on to the next slide. Thank you for voting. You might be surprised. You might have wondered where that list came from. You might have expected to see, register for a course or sign up for a lesson. And what I want to highlight with development of your soft skills is to focus on experiences. And with these experiences, the important thing to consider with them is how you might actually demonstrate your soft skills. So, for example, let's say you are a mentor. You mentor maybe undergraduate students, fresh undergraduate students. In that experience itself, you are demonstrating to an employer your practical application of being a mentor, of being a leader, of providing guidance, of your clear communication skills, of your ability to organize. All of these things are being demonstrated through these various experiences. So yes, you could take a course on it, and I'm not discouraging you from taking any courses on a variety of soft skills, be it teamwork, be it leadership, whatever it might be. But I want you to think about when you present your application to an employer or when you are in an interview to an employer, if you are being compared against a candidate who, all things being equal, has the same information, but maybe you've got a demonstration of your leadership skills, whereas the other person took a leadership course, think about from the employer's point of view, which you think might add a little bit more value. So it's always important to flip that perspective and think about how you can demonstrate your skills. It's great to have the knowledge, but important to focus on that demonstration element. And I also just want to mention a couple of things on the slide as well. You might see and wonder why things like team sports are on this list. And as you might have heard in my intro and the previous session, I've worked extensively with employers from a range of different industries. And what I hear from those employers is things that they are looking for to make a candidate more appealing. And they would consistently say participation in events such as team sports, because what that demonstrates is an ability to work as part of a team, to collaborate, to coordinate, to clearly express, this common goal, to work together towards a common goal. It demonstrates compromise. So I heard from employers such as BCG and Bain, both really top consulting firms, that they were looking for things like team sports or even independent travel shows, again, problem-solving abilities. So really think about the different experiences that you have done and that you are doing and how you can continue to enhance your skills. So if we could go to the next slide. This is building upon what we spoke about previously. And also I mentioned a little bit of this in the last session at the end during the Q&A part. When you are seeking out these opportunities to develop your skills, this is the same when it goes to job searching. But the important part is to be active, not passive. If you are interested in developing your skills and you want to get some experience with a particular organization or you want to do something, reach out to them. See if you can volunteer with them. Don't wait for something to be posted, but make something happen for yourself. Speak with organizations of interest. Ask them, can you do any volunteering with them? But also discuss with them how you can add value, how you can contribute to that organization. I've got a dot point there that says adopt an entrepreneurial mindset. What I mean by that is, let's say again, if you want to develop your leadership skills. I gave the example of mentoring earlier. Maybe there's no organized mentoring group that you're familiar of. So maybe start one for yourself. Perhaps you might have a younger sibling and you tutor your younger sibling in a subject. Maybe your sibling has friends who also would like tutoring support. Could you start a tutoring organization? Think about how that would demonstrate and develop your employability skills to an employer when you are applying or when you are sitting for an interview. The other thing I want to talk about with this is don't discredit an experience because it's not in your desired field. And if you remember from last week's session, where Sini presented a beautiful quote from Steve Jobs, and he mentioned that he had taken this calligraphy course, and he said it was beautiful and historic, and he loved it, but didn't know what to do with it. And then 10 years later, when he was developing the first Apple computer, he incorporated that knowledge. So an experience is highly valuable, no matter where it comes from. So think about getting some kind of opportunity to enhance these soft skills and never discredit it because it's not necessarily in your field. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, so where we're at now, you've identified skills, you reflected on your own, you've thought about how you can develop those skills. It's great now that you have those skills, but the next step is being able to articulate those skills to the employer. So you might think, okay, I've done all of these different experiences, I've got communication skills, the employer should see that, that should then make me stand out. But you have to go the next level and ensure that you are articulating specifically the skills that you've developed and providing hard facts to back up your soft skills. So what I always tell students to do is when you are looking to apply for a position, to take a look at that job description. Circle the skills that you see that they are identifying, that they're looking for, and then ensure that your application, your resume, matches and reflects the skills that you have that they are also looking for. There are many employers who utilize a program that will actually search through your application for keywords that they are looking for. It might be leadership, it might be creativity, it might be initiative. And if that program doesn't find enough hits on the keywords, then it automatically gets rejected. This is particularly relevant for employers who receive a large number of applications. Now, if you have taken the time to tailor your application to show them, I have the exact skills that you're looking for, and here's how I've demonstrated them, that will elevate your application to the employer and will stand out to them. So I always encourage to ensure that you tailor your application, that you reflect on what they are looking for and the necessary skills that you possess and that would be of added value to that employer. You could go to the next slide, please. So here you should see the same table that we looked at earlier. So as I mentioned, I left that last column intentionally blank, so I'll talk about it here. So from the ability to identify your skills, to develop your skills, to articulate your skills, the next step, and this will really separate you from your competitors, is if you can demonstrate to an employer that you understand how to transfer that knowledge and skills to the employer. So when you're thinking of this, what I mean by this is when you're sitting in an interview, for example, if you say, I've got excellent teamwork skills as demonstrated through these experiences, that's great, but you want to think about what is the employer going to do with that information. So if you take your answer one step further, and if you say, I've researched your organization and I see that I will be responsible for working with a lot of different stakeholders. You're working on this project and it involves people and teams across a range of backgrounds. And with my own teamwork skills, I've worked in these kinds of similar teams where I've done these things. If you can outline that to an employer, not only that you have the skill and how you've demonstrated the skill, but how you will apply it to that organization, to that role, or to a specific project they are working on, you make that connection to the employer that much clearer. You show them exactly how you will add value to them. So don't make it a guessing game for them, but tell them specifically, this is how I will add value. So on this chart, this last column here, and there's a lot of different ways you can do this. This is just an idea for you to start to see your skills and the applicability of them. if you see this last column, I've got an example role. Perhaps you might be interested in being a consultant, for example. Feel free to add in whatever roles and do this comparison for as many different positions as you're thinking about. Then what you can do is you can go down these columns and look at the skills that you say you demonstrated and think about, okay, I am an excellent critical thinker. Why might that be important in the role of a consultant? Or I have done really great presentations. Why might that be important in the role of a consultant? And again, for the sake of the space on the presentation, I've kept this brief, but I would encourage you to be very specific and a little bit more detailed than what you see here. But for example, if you know, okay, consultants obviously are going to have to conduct presentations. Can you articulate your presenting abilities that you identified through part of this internship, through this chart? Can you tell them specifically what makes you an excellent presenter and how you will bring your skills as a presenter to the work at that firm? So really make that connection. This will elevate your own standing with the employer. And again, make it very clear to them exactly how you will add value. So again, as I mentioned, you can use this in interviews as well as perhaps in writing up cover letters or things like that. So really make sure that you research the organization as well as think about how it can transfer. If we can go to the next slide. So at this stage, we want to focus on how to maintain employability, how to maintain your employability skills. So we have gone through identification of, how to demonstrate and develop, how to transfer, but it's important as well that you keep in mind how you maintain these employability skills. So I've got a quote here with a little image, and I want to draw some parallels here. So on the quote, you can see it says, "You don't win an Olympic gold medal with a few weeks of intensive training." And the same goes for your own career development journey. It's not just a week of training. It's not just a week of courses. It's not just one experience. It is a lifetime that you build upon and you continually work on and develop. It is something that is consistently ongoing. And even in this example, even when the athlete reaches what many might say is the pinnacle, they achieve a gold medal in their sport, they don't stop training from there. After winning a gold medal, that's not the end for them. They will continue to train, continue to improve, to go forward to the next Olympics, for example. So same thing with your career development. You might have landed a job and you might be really, really happy with that, but you will need to still continually improve and continually work on building up your own skills and your own abilities. And just like an Olympic athlete has a coach throughout their entire journey, it's important too for your own career development that you seek out the necessary support from people such as myself, Orsini, and I'll talk about how to book an appointment with us coming up. But there are professionals who provide this sort of service for you. And it's important to ensure that you do receive some support, some motivation, have someone to discuss your ideas and your goals with, to maybe redirect if necessary or help clarify things with you. Maybe you need someone to provide guidance on, again, how to pick out the right skills to focus on for an employer. So keep this in mind. Your career development journey is a journey. It is an ongoing, continual pursuit, and it is important that you continually think about ways to improve yourself, to continue to build upon those employability skills. And if you remember from last week's session, if you watched the TEDx video on the learning and performance zone, this is a constant recurrence throughout your career development journey. So you are learning and then you are performing. And it's important that you make sure that you've got both sides of things throughout your journey. So Sabika, if you could move to the next slide. So just to summarize a bit about what we've discussed so far, we've talked about the importance of employability skills, how they are essential for individual growth and success throughout your career journey, as well as they are important for the employer that you are looking to potentially work with. So they're an essential part of your career development journey. We've also talked about how having these skills by themselves is not enough. You have to be able to articulate those skills to the employer, or even if you're applying for a PhD program, articulate the skills that you've got and discuss, again, how they add value to that employer. So demonstrate your knowledge not only of the employer, but of how your skills can add value to that employer. And then we've discussed how to continually develop your skills by seeking out or creating opportunities and experiences for yourself. So like I said, don't wait for an opportunity to be posted, but make one happen for yourself. Sabika, if you could go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, and as we discussed in last week's session, we, QCDC, we are here to support you in your career development journey. We do offer one-on-one sessions where you can receive feedback and guidance. You can ask us your questions, whatever you might need help with. You can book in for a free 45-minute one-on-one career guidance advising session through Calendly. So we will send out this presentation, so you can click on the link there. But I would highly encourage you to come to us with whatever questions you might have. Maybe you don't know where to begin with your journey. Maybe you're at a pivotal point and you need guidance as to what is the best future plan for you. If you're thinking about PhD or career, we can help you talk through that. Maybe you're stuck on identifying your skills, or maybe you're stuck on how to articulate your skills to the employer. These are all things that we can do to support you. So do take advantage of these sessions. Again, they are on Calendly and they are free. So I would encourage you to book in for those. I would also encourage you to connect with us on our various social media channels. So I've got LinkedIn, of course, written there. So do follow us on LinkedIn. We post different articles and info details on things like tips for staying organized when you are working from home. So connect with us on LinkedIn as well, but we are definitely here to support you throughout your career development journey. I'd like to pause there for a minute. I'm hoping you all can still hear me. And I'd like to see if there are any questions at this point in time. Feel free to type your questions in the chat if you've got any questions, and if Sini or Sabika could read those questions.
Sure, we're just waiting for questions to pop in.
Paige, I do have a question. I have two questions here, actually. One of them asks that do you provide any CV clinics, or could we bring our CVs just to see if we're reflecting our skills appropriately? Is that part of the mandate, or is it outside it?
I might deflect to Sini for that one.
So as part of our virtual career advising sessions, it is within the scope. So we don't necessarily restrict the kind of services we provide only for assessments and one-to-one consultation. We are welcoming everyone to join us, and we are happy to support you in any way you need us to.
Thank you.
I would just like to mention in my previous role, I have reviewed, hundreds of resumes. So I've looked at a lot. So I am very, very happy to offer that support to anyone. So please do feel free to bring that along if you would like to discuss that.
Thank you. That's really, really valuable to know. And it's always a concern to see if we're, as you said, articulating it properly. I've got another question, but maybe you want to save this for the panel after. So I'll just hold off on that if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
And for the moment, I don't see any more questions coming in.
Okay. What I would also, I suppose, like to do before we move on to the panel session is I would like for you all to type into the chat. I know you utilized the poll function to indicate some of the ways that you are currently developing your employability skills, but I'd like for you to utilize the chat function and to also write out maybe specifically some organizations that you're part of or some clubs or mentoring programs that you are currently involved with. This can be beneficial in a couple of ways. You can share what you're involved with others, as well as showing that you understand the demonstration of those employability skills. So take a minute or so, if you don't have any questions, to type into the chat box, what are some specific ways that you are currently working on your employability skills?
I see one, networking.
Networking, excellent. So feel free to continue typing that, but I would also like to, I think, take this opportunity to click to the next slide, and then Sabika, I invite you to, you're welcome to stop sharing because I believe our panelists are on board, and I would love to go ahead and turn the floor over to Sini to welcome our esteemed panelists and to provide their bios, and then we will hear directly from them on their perspectives of employability skills and the importance of soft skills. So Sini, I will turn the floor over to you.